Welcome. This is episode number 5 of Those Fire Guys. I'm Fire Prevention Officer Tom Walshman, and this is my coworker, Fire Prevention Officer Doug Kellum, and we have a special guest today, Doug.
So yes, today we have the Executive Director of the Fire Safety Council, Jamie Kovacs, with us. So if you remember back in episode 1, we talked about the Saved by the Beep campaign. Jamie's organization is a leader in this campaign. So Jamie, do you have a few minutes you can talk with us about this campaign?
So this campaign was started with the Office of the Fire Marshal. Ahmed Kaneth and her team, John Macbeth, wanted to develop something that was catchy and would be easily accepted. A lot of color, a lot of visuals, so they developed the brand Saved by the Beep, which was based on lightly Saved by the Bell in the 90s. And it's all around testing your smoke alarm on one day. We can get the whole province together to do it and make it a regular habit from there on in. So September 28th is the day. Test your smoke alarm day, and hopefully we can get people on board with this catchy Take a Pledge and everything that they've got developed for this year.
Now this September the 28th, this is our second annual
Second
annual event.
Yep.
So it's brand new, and we have to keep this tradition going.
So one of the things that we do, like you said, we want to make sure that all of our alarms work. So how is the OFM supporting this activity, and how is your organization supporting this?
So we are at arm's length of the Office of the Fire Marshal. So the Fire Marshal's pushing out through their normal channels to the fire service. What we are tasked with is trying to get external corporations and help get the public involved in this as best we can. So we are working with companies like Kidda to help them take some of their funding and some of their alarms to get them in the hands of the fire service and out with the fire departments. We're also, that's available on our website. The fire marshal themselves have added a new twist this year. Last year they developed a great little video. It was a 30-second, quite a snappy, catchy little video that everybody was onto. I don't know if you've seen it. This year they're doing Take the Pledge. And that's where you'll scan the QR code. You can go to savedbythebeep.ca, scan the QR code, register for it. Then you're going to get texts and reminders. And we want you to take that and task your family with it, task your friends with it, so that ultimately on the 28th, wherever you are, you'll be able to hear people testing their smoke alarms throughout the province.
So Tom, I mean, you'll confirm this, that when we go to fires, often maybe half of the fires that we go to, the folks living in those houses do not have working smoke alarms. And do you see that getting any better?
No, unfortunately, this trend has been getting worse and worse as the years have gone by. We got to a certain point where people made sure that all of their smoke alarms worked on every story of their home. But in past years, and we hate to use a benchmark of society, but before COVID and our shutdown of the world for several years, people hadn't been paying any attention to the expiry dates in their smoke and CO alarms, and unfortunately, one of the key pieces that I think we've missed in this discussion is if you have hardwired smoke alarms in your home, not realizing how old your home is, whether it's brand new, whether it's upwards of 30 years old with hardwired smoke alarms, just because they're attached to the house, they have an expiry date as well. The only difference between hardwired smoke alarms and battery-powered smoke alarms is their power source. And over the years, it used to be we'd get to a home, all the smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms would work, or none of them would work. Now, almost every call we run to, one or two of the smoke alarms in the home are not functioning.
So one of the things that when we're doing our tests on our smoke alarms that we need to pay attention to is that on the side of the alarms, we have that best before or replace by date that we can check. So when we're up there, we push the button on the alarm to test it to make sure it works. It also, and as we can see, this is a hardwired smoke alarm. Here's the power cord that would be plugged into the power source in the house. These alarms also have the replace by date. So we get this question all the time, and if you were to ask any firefighter, any fire prevention officer, they get this question all the time: do I have to replace my hardwired alarms? So Tom, can you just go through some of the rules that we need to observe when we're replacing the alarms? Like, for example, a lot of the newer houses have the hardwired alarms. They have alarms in all the bedrooms. They have the strobes on those alarms. What level of protection is required for those houses?
All right. So if we just do, for instance, I live in an old farmhouse and my house is over 100 years old. At time of construction, smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms hadn't been invented yet. So my home only requires a minimum of a battery operated smoke alarm on all stories of my house and outside all sleeping areas. Because I have fuel-fired appliances in my home, I need to have carbon monoxide alarms outside our sleeping areas. I have sleeping areas in 2 stories of my home, so I need a minimum of 2 carbon monoxide alarms. But with that, they only have to be battery powered. Now, go ahead in time, many years, the building code changed to where they were requiring hardwired smoke alarms in your home, but at that time you only required to have 1 working smoke alarm in your home, and it had to be positioned outside the sleeping area. So as time rolled on again, progressed through, our smoke alarms are now required on every story of our home, and more recently, strobe activation for the folks that have any kind of hearing impairment is part of our new smoke alarms. So if we have a hardwired smoke alarm in our newer home that has a strobe light and it is a combination smoke and carbon monoxide alarm, you have to replace it with that. If it is a smoke alarm with no strobe, you have to replace it with a smoke alarm, but you've got to replace it with the products you're taking down. We cannot reduce the level of our protection, meaning if we have a hardwired smoke alarm, hardwired CO alarm, or a combination of both, we cannot replace that with a battery version. These 2, Doug, if you can just hold that up.
Yep.
These 2 smoke alarms, for all intents and purposes, are exactly the same, except this smoke alarm runs on a 9-volt battery. This smoke alarm runs on the 120 voltage in of the house, as well as it's got a internal battery backup. So these do the same job, just have 2 different power sources. So if this alarm reaches its expiry date, we just simply can't unplug this from the ceiling, change the mounting bracket, and put this smoke alarm up on the ceiling in its place, because we've now reduced the level of protection. And in the regulations that we follow, this is against the law.
Well, no, and I just, as myself, I'm a volunteer firefighter. I'll back that up. We go into many houses and people have that false sense of security that they have a hardwired alarm that, no, we're good. Mine's hardwired. And quite often you'll look at it and say, well, no, they're actually expired. So it's, and this is why Saved by the Beep's so important, the day. It's the only thing that's gonna wake your family up in the middle of the night is that alarm going off. Don't count on your pet. Don't count on anything else. You need those alarms to wake you and your family up and get you outside, right? And that's why Saved by the Beep is meant to capture all age groups, to get them excited to get testing their alarms, and like Doug said, to check the date while you're testing them.
So your organization has a number of products and things that are going out to the fire departments that are available.
Yeah. And it's been fun. I think that's one of the most fun parts of my job is that we produce a lot of the items that the fire prevention officers and educators use to educate the public. And let's be honest, driving the fire safety message home and testing your alarm message hasn't been exciting. So we're trying to do different things to get people to think. So when you're out talking to the people, little things like a phone pop, it's on your phone constantly to remind you to test your alarm. That's where the fun begins. So we're looking for new ways to drive that message home, and Saved by the Beep has been a lot of fun in trying to spread. So we're continuing. I challenge any corporations out there that want to get involved to help the fire service. Let us know. Right? Let me know, reach out to me directly and we'll help out.
One of the things, like you mentioned, you're a volunteer firefighter. And as Tom and I are, we like when we go to people's houses, we're going there. We're expected to have a level of knowledge. Is there what other sort of expertise do you wish that the fire service had in general?
And I'm starting to see more of it through people like yourselves. It's educating the firefighters. So many come in and they're just suppression minded. I want to grab that hose. I want to do the fun stuff. I want to put the water on the hot stuff. And I've done it with my department now that I've learned about it. Spreading the message about these alarms and how they work. There's a lot of confusion when we go to CO calls or smoke alarm calls. We don't know what set it off. So the more we share with each other, the more knowledgeable everybody will be. Take time and educate your volunteer firefighters, a lot of your career firefighters. Just give them some education on how these alarms work. And then you're educated when you're talking to the homeowner.
Because you'll vouch for this, and any firefighter in the province will vouch for this. Your neighbor will come up to you because they know you're a firefighter, and they'll ask you these questions. What about this, or what about that? What about our smoke alarms? How do they work? Where do I need them? And if you're not knowledgeable in what has to happen for your own family and for your neighbors to help them, then you need to get to that stage where,
if you're not sure, don't be afraid to ask. If you're a firefighter and you're meeting, or if you know somebody in the fire prevention business, ask them, because all of us will gladly tell you what you need to know, right?
100%.
Yep, and one of the misnomers that I want to try and spell is that when you call the fire department, and in whatever capacity you are, and you ask a question and you reach out for help, no way at all are you in any kind of trouble, and is there going to be any kind of cost incurred, because you're reaching out and saying, help, I don't know. And that's part of what Doug and I do every single day, is help people that just have questions, that don't know. The one thing we can do as homeowners, and it's a bit of a daunting task because our newer homes have really, really tall ceilings, but the first thing we need to do is regularly vacuum out our smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. So we've got these two little wee ports right there, and both smoke alarms have them. There's not too many side fins on the small one, but there's a bit of a side fin on this one. If we live in a busy home, if we've got kids, got all kinds of animals, or if we love to have the fresh air and the wind gets blowing through any kind of dust, dirt, just loves to find its way into smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms.
Just touch on that again. When you have an alarm activation, when your smoke or your carbon monoxide alarms activate, even if you suspect that it's not a real fire, it's not a real emergency, you suspect that it's an unintended or activation, call 911, get the fire trucks coming. Understand that it doesn't matter where you live in this province, your fire department is a set distance away. It's going to take them anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, depending on where you live, to get to your house. The sooner you're called, the sooner you get there, and the sooner we can mitigate the problem. And if the firefighters get there, they arrive on scene, and you have no emergency, that's the best news that we can ever get when we hop off the truck. So that, and find out, okay, we don't have a fire, we don't have an emergency. Perfect. We can make sure everybody's safe, and we can go through and do the troubleshooting, do the checks, and go through to make it all to make it safe, and give the right advice going forward to get the alarms replaced with what they need to be replaced with.
You got family, you got friends. It sounds silly, but take 2 seconds when you're at their house. Yep. My mom was 5'2". She would climb on the worst precarious ladder to try to check them every once in a while. So take 2 seconds and go over and check your family's alarms, check your friends' alarms. Right? We're professionals. And then when you're doing it, educate them to your vacuuming piece, all that. I didn't realize you had to vacuum these things out. So just Saved by the Beep, make it a day. Don't just test your own. Get out there and also when you're doing it, I would challenge you to do a little social media piece. Here I am checking my mom's alarms, September 20, beep, 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 everything works. Great. And share it with your friends, because now that's going to get the education message out there too, right?
Yep, and Jamie, that is a perfect segue into, if we're going to check our smoke alarms on September the 28th, what a great time to practice your family's home fire escape plan. And if you don't have an escape plan, what a more great time to create one.
Yeah.
Everybody's thinking about safety on this day, then let's just think, if this was real, how are we getting out of the house?
And sometimes your situation in the house changes. You might have somebody that has an injury. You might have a senior or an infant come into the house that needs that assistance. Obviously, a baby's not going to be able to get out of the house.
No.
But we need to have, so you need to have a plan to make sure that the baby's safe. If grandma comes to live with us, we need to make sure that, somebody's helping grandma get out of the house and knows what to do. Because some of our seniors, this was never something that they paid any attention to. They lived through a lot of fires, a lot of folks, but this hasn't been part of their lifestyle. So
Get used to, I told the parents, press that button, have the kid press the button, test it, make that noise a common thing in their lives so that they know when that noise goes off, not to hide, because that's a firefighter's worst nightmare.
for sure.
Those kids can hide and they get in tough spots to find. Make sure when that beep goes off, the kids know to get out and be outside in a meeting spot. So that
The other thing that I wanted to touch on too, and this is obviously a brand new alarm, when it comes from the manufacturer, it has some type of protective cover on it. It either has like a little hairnet kind of a protector like that. Some of them have like a red ribbon tape around the outside. If you are in a newer home or you've just had them replaced, have a look at them. And if you see that in place, that needs to be removed, because if all those ports are covered up, they're not going to work. They're not going to be able to sense the smoke in an emergency. So they're effectively useless. So that's why, just if you see that, make sure you take that off.
Like, people associate certain colors and things with a brand and it sticks in their memory. We want, I should say, the fire marshal developed this so that this will become ingrained in people's memories. That September 28th will be an annual thing where, you know what, that's a Saved by the Beep. It's catchy. It's meant to catch on and be memorable. It's just we want to get more and more people on testing your alarms. Kind of like when it used to be change the batteries when the time changed. That took years and years of marketing and pitches and PSAs to catch on. This one's very catchy and it is spreading fast. And that's the whole idea. It's just we want the whole province out there testing. I'll tell you, the fire marshal's office, their number one concern is saving lives and reducing the number of fatalities. And this is the number one way, because it's going to get you out of your house. I'm excited to start seeing some different social media posts. I've challenged my kids to get out there and take a quick video, throw it on their TikTok, throw it on their Instagram, have some fun with it in their own way, and get silly with it, right? Do the way they want to do it. I'm going to do a post that day. I'm going to try to hit my little target market. I challenge everybody to have some fun with it. It's a
One person told one person that told two persons.
Oh yeah, that's
and,
right.
And
yeah.
it's pretty soon that number grows.
It is savedbythebeep.ca, and you can go on there now. There's a QR code. Get on there, scan that, take the pledge. They're going to provide you many reminders that day to get out and take it and test it that day. So savedbythebeep.ca. Very colorful, a lot of information on there too, in multiple languages. The OFM did a great job making sure that Canadians are covered, not just in their two languages, but multiple languages.
Working smoke alarms save lives. If they aren't working, they aren't going to save your life. We can't smell smoke in the middle of the night when we're sleeping. Right. These alarms are the only thing that's standing between a tragedy and your family getting out of your house safe. We're trying to save lives, but we need your help to do it. We can't do this by ourselves, and with newer construction houses that are burning quicker and hotter, it's more and more important that families get out of the house long before we even get there. So we can't do that. So certainly, Jamie, we really appreciate your everything you and your organization do in this.
So I want to thank everyone for giving us a few minutes of your time. Hopefully you can take something away from this. I want to personally thank Jamie and myself. Thank you, sir, so much. Appreciate you coming out today.
Thanks, guys.
And on behalf of Firefighter Doug and Firefighter Tom,
And
we are
Firefighter Jamie.
And
There you go,
Firefighter
three
Jamie. We are those fire guys. And I want to thank you so much. And please stay tuned for our next podcast.